Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, viewers. I'm Titus Sitentu, news editor of the Namibian Sun newspaper. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Evening Review Show. But before we get into the business of the night, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, I promised you an exciting edition, and indeed it will be one. We're joined in studio tonight, virtually this of course, by Mr. Titus Sitentu, the President of the Service Union of Namibia. Welcome, sir, and good evening.
Good evening, and thank you, Matthias, for giving me this opportunity to be in the studio.
Thank you. No, it's a pleasure, sir. What is the union has been making headlines in recent months? What's happening that side?
PSUN. I know we have been in the news for all the good things that you can say of recent, simply because we decided to turn up the heat in the kitchen. Things were a bit haphazard within the labor industry, and we've decided that I think it was high time that the employees deserve what is due to them, and rightfully so. So we made that commitment to restructure, redouble our effort, and basically, things have been happening.
Yeah, a lot of people that have engaged some have even been asking, is this a new union or where is it coming from? Because as far as I know, PSUN has been there. What are you doing differently that side?
I guess, you see, some people will come up with those notions always because of ignorance, for obvious reasons, obviously. The PSUN has been in existence since 1981. And then, leadership changed since last year when we were given the mandate last year, the 26th of February, 2020. When we were given the mandate, we decided to embark on a new journey, on a new trajectory that has seen this new wave, and that has seen the PSUN doing things differently, of course. Yeah. So I guess it's an issue of leadership change, and like I said initially, we decided to turn up the heat in the kitchen.
Well, rightfully so, leadership change. Well, your leadership came into office obviously during the pandemic era. How has that been? We had a lot of complaints, especially in the labor sector. What is the situation like?
Yeah, we basically came in at a very challenging time, and also at the very right time when the employees needed us. We came in at a time where most of the activities were limited due to the pandemic, where most of the activities were put on hold for obvious reasons. But we managed to navigate the ship to ensure that our employees are protected, to ensure that we are there, we are visible. So when we came in, we made sure that we hit the ground running. Yeah. Already there were issues, for instance, at the Ministry of Health at Katutora Hospital, where health workers were exposed. Some employees, most especially that were doing the cleaners, most especially, used to work without protective clothing. Some used to get just instruction from the supervisors to just go there and clean the room where people infected with COVID and without any protective clothing. So we addressed these issues. We went on the ground. We called the leadership of the of the hospital, and we addressed it heads on. It was even broadcasted live on TV. We called on the executive director of Ministry of Health to make sure that there's enough protective clothing that is given, masks and gowns. So, and that was done. So basically, and we have moved on from industry to industry, from sector to sector, and people are seeing all these waves. And yeah, it has not been an easy road, but yeah, we have been moving.
Okay. When you say you've been moving from sector to sector, industry to industry, when it comes to influence, bargaining power, and so on, how is your footprint at the moment?
Relatively moving in the right direction. As you know, that government signed a recognition agreement sometimes back with another union that can. So, in terms of bargaining for salary and benefits, we have not been able to do that because government has already a recognition agreement with another union. But in terms of other functions that trade unions are supposed to do, in terms of representation, we are not restricted from representing our members, irrespective of the fact that we are not a recognized bargaining agent. So we have been doing the moves. So in terms of unfair labor practices, so we have been there, and our members have been very satisfied with our interventions in different sectors. And of course, with regards to the issue of the exclusive bargaining agent with government, is something that is still yet to come, that we are, or that can still be challenged, because really,
we are working our way up, and we'll do all our best.
Okay, Mr. President, I would like to know from you as the union, the balancing act that you have to adopt, especially during this COVID era. When an employer says, I have to lay off workers, and then the workers obviously would oppose that as expected. How do you balance that as a union when the employer opens the books and says, come and have a look, I can't sustain this workforce?
Yeah, no, it's been a very challenging act to say. Of course, we cannot go against the fact that reality has hit the ground. For obvious reasons, there are industries that have really been hard hit by the pandemic, and really it has been very impossible for them to continue operating. And it's not reasonable for a trade union to enforce or put pressure on an organization that we can clearly see that it cannot sustain its operation. So what we have done in these instances is basically to negotiate with different institutions that have been hard hit, to say, okay, in a situation whereby the economy recovers or the situation is better, we need to have some sort of agreement that these employees that are being laid should be considered once the situation has normalized. So this has been our intervention, because you need to be reasonable. So you cannot just make demands unnecessarily when you can see that really, no matter what you do, you cannot, suck out blood from a stone. So as a Public Service Union of Namibia, we have gone to such extents of really ascertaining ourselves and satisfying ourselves that really this particular institution cannot continue, and therefore it obviously it will need to lay down employees. So, but then, with those conditions in place.
I think the other thing is in recent years, there's been a proliferation, especially when it comes to the application for recognition from the Labor Ministry for new unions. What is your take on that?
Yeah, you see, for one, I'm of the opinion that having too many trade unions is not the solution to the labor issues that we have currently. Because no matter how many unions we open up, if their vision, their mission is not right or is not upright, then we will not solve any issues. Some unions are being opened up because of, for obvious reasons, people want to be in power. When you see this person is in charge of an institution, you feel, no, I think it should be me or it should be us, and that is not leadership for me, because we cannot all be in power, in positions of power. The labor industry in Namibia, to say, is so thin that it does not even allow us to have so many groupings of employees that are all going in different directions. I mean, even the population itself of the country is too small. So it will not solve any issues if we still go on and expand, have more trade unions, while we already have these ones. So the best that we can do is strengthen the already existing trade unions with whatever it is that we can do, because together we can be stronger. Strengthen the already existing trade unions, and then we can all sing one song. Because it's not the number of trade unions that will solve issues, but rather the quality of leadership and obviously the support. You do not necessarily have to be in position of power to have an impact on any decision making, so long as you are a member of that particular trade union. Like, at the PSUN, we have an open door policy where members are allowed to come in and obviously give us suggestions and give us support in terms of anything that they see is not right, or anything that they see that should be done in that way. And that is the direction that we have taken, and things are going well. So if we can get more support, obviously the sky is only the limit. Now, with regards to so many applications with the Office of the Labor Commissioner that has not probably been approved and so forth, I think it has to do with maybe certain groups not meeting the requirement. You see, people are so hungry to be in power, but then the necessary requirements as per Section 53 of the Namibian of the Labor Act is not met. So when that is not met, because the Section 53 basically regulates the constitutions of trade unions or employers organizations. So and many people really do not take time to go through this and follow all the necessary requirements. So for obvious reasons, there has been those rejections. But my view to people trying to form up many unions is that it will not solve it will not solve our issues. Because you see, the main issue is that we have these ones that are already there. It's just you identify and then you restructure, you identify your problems, you restructure, and then we can move forward. So I know that maybe many people have been disappointed with regards to the service delivery of certain trade unions for obvious reasons. But because many people joined blindly and they did not maybe take time to go through the constitutions of these trade unions, the aims and visions of the existence of such trade unions. And obviously, when you are there, you will find out that you are deeply in a relationship that will not best serve your interests. So notably, as employees, we need to identify that, you see, the existence of trade unions is regulated firstly by Article 95C of the Namibian Constitution, which states that the state shall actively promote and maintain the welfare of the people by adopting inter-alia policies at the following: C, active encouragement of independent trade unions to protect workers' rights and interests, and to promote sound labor relations and fair employment practices. So this is clearly written in the Namibian constitution that the state shall promote independent trade unions, because you do not want to have a situation where you have the player and the referee at the same time. And that is this very same article. These are the same principles that founds the PSUN, because we are founded on basis and principles of independence, because we believe that a trade union is not a political party. And this is the misunderstanding that many people do have. When you mix these two, then you will definitely not serve the interest of the employees, because a trade union is supposed to serve the interest of the...
Let me just interject there, because you are now moving into the part I want us to move on, the second part. We'll first go for a break. Just hold your thoughts there. We'll continue with it.
All right, thank you.
Well, we are back. Welcome back, Mr. President, the viewers. Welcome back. You partially delved into the issue of basically the relationship between unions and political parties, and the perception that existed the two are interlinked. Can you just continue where you left off?
Yeah, thank you very much, Matthias. As I was saying, is that you see, employees need to understand the reasons behind the formation of this article in our Namibian constitution. It is not just there for fun. It was put there for a very serious reason, and obviously it makes sense. Now, as it is stated in our Namibian constitution, it says that the state, Article 95 to be precise, Article 95C, which says that the state shall promote the existence of independent trade union. So our very good drafters of this constitution saw the need to separate the political issues with trade unionism, because trade unions deal with labor issues, while political parties deal with political parties, and that is the perception that people have. Now you will find employees are part and parcel of politically affiliated trade unions. Obviously, the intentions are different. The aims and objectives will not be to serve the interests of the workers, but basically the aims will be to serve the interests of those that are in positions of power, for those trade union members. I mean, trade union leadership. So, and we have been seeing now over the past few months, to be precise, and over the past few years, what has been happening in Namibia, that you really, employees have been suffering because of this, and many did not realize. So, and thankfully, yeah, the past few months, as we've been making the inroads and all that, employees have now realized that, oh, okay, so there is this section, this article in our very good Namibian constitution, which obliges the state to promote independent trade unions. So it is there, because you cannot sleep in the same bed with your employer. So if that happens, then you are going to be making wrong decisions, and you will not represent employees, but you'll be representing the interests only of the employer.
But the independence between the two, is it really possible? We've seen it even in other areas, not just Namibia. South Africa also has the same problem, the interlink between unions and political parties. How do you ensure that that line is not blurred?
You see, to start with, I'll be very particular in our instances here, because for me it's an issue of knowledge, it's an issue of lack of information. Our people are not informed properly as to say why is this trade union in existence? What is its purpose? And in terms of its affiliations, if it's affiliated to a political party, what could be the possible repercussions for if anything happens, for argument's sake? And we have seen that in some instances, trade union leaders have taken unorthodox decisions by, unilaterally, basically, to say, by just making decisions on behalf of the instructions of the bodies that they serve, which is the political parties, at the expense of the employees. So, and it has really had a very negative effect on the employees in general. So, in the South African aspect, the movement of the independent trade unions has been growing significantly, and we have seen that they are now the dominant forces in the South African labor industry, for obvious reasons. Like I'm saying, you cannot sleep in the same bed with your employer. There always needs to be a referee and then a player. You cannot be the referee and the player at the same time. It will not work. So that's why we need to divorce the two. Trade unions must operate independently without interference. So, and
is the interference from the side of the state or from within the trade unions?
You see, it's a very good question. You see, once you are affiliated to a political party as a trade union, then your bosses are the political is the political party. At the expense, and they are the ones to hold you accountable at the expense of the employees. Now, the trade unions function is supposed to exist because of the employees, but now because of your relationship or because of your affiliation with a political party, obviously it's going to affect the way that you operate, because then there are certain decisions when that cannot be taken without the instruction of your superiors, which is the political party in this instance. So, and obviously there are decisions that will go against the employees because you have a bread to save. So most trade union leaders do that, and because they know that because I want to go and be in parliament. So if I make this decision and then the political party will not take me to Congress, and I don't have a chance of becoming a minister, or I don't have a chance of getting appointed as a board member, for instance. You get me? So many times we have seen that decisions are made based on what trade unions feel will protect or will make them last longer in their positions as trade union leaders, or what will basically enhance their positions to be serving in governments, senior government structures, or parliament per se. Yes.
Is PSUN affiliated to any political movement?
No. PSUN is an independent trade unions formed to serve the interest of employees in Namibia, be it regardless of your race, color, origin, sex, or gender. So for us, it's just purely representation of employees' rights.
As we move to the last segment of our show, I'm sure you are also aware of talks, especially regarding the future of unions, the relevance thereof. going forward, say perhaps in the short to long term period? Would you say unions are still relevant?
Very much relevant.
I expect you to
Otherwise,
say that.
very much relevant. Yes, of course, for obvious reasons. You might think so. Yeah, but you see, if trade unions were not relevant, the existence of trade union were not relevant, then even the Labor Act will not be relevant. The existence of our Labor Act will not be relevant. Then the existence of Article 95C of the Namibian Constitution will not be relevant. So we need to start from there. So you see, the inability of trade unions to solve issues of employees cannot be summarized to say and concluded to say that trade unions are not relevant.
But what other yardstick should we then use to measure your relevance?
That's what I'm saying. Is the political affiliation issues.
Yeah.
It's the issue of the reasons of existence of different trade unions. If a trade union is formed by a political party, it will serve political interests for obvious reasons. And if a trade union is formed to serve the interests of the workers purely, it will serve the interests of the workers because it does not have any affiliation to any political party. Yeah. So that is just simple mathematics. 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So we need to go back to the drawing board and really interrogate trade unions' reasons of existence and the issues of affiliation. For me, it has really played a very, very significant role, and it has clouded our reasoning because of certain unions' inability to solve issues wholeheartedly to the best interest and to really serve the interests of the employees. Yeah. But then some trade unions have gone on to serve the interests of their stomachs. So we need to put it out there. So and when that is done, then we all conclude and say that no, they are all the same. There's no relevance. Yeah. The relevance is there. We must just divorce the two. Okay. So because there must always be the referee and there must be the player. So Article 95C of the Namibian Constitution was just not crafted there for just for the sake of it. It was crafted there to mean something. Yeah. And if the state really can start advocating for this, that there is a complete independence and separation of powers, then we are going further in the Namibian labor industry. But if we want to involve labor issues, if you want to involve political issues in labor matters, then we are going down the drain. And of course, the existence of this Article 95C of the Namibian Constitution will be meaningless.
Okay. But Mr. President, you will agree with me that the dynamics of the labor industry globally, not just in Namibia, has changed. What should unions do to reinvent themselves and ensure that they remain relevant to the current times? Because surely you can't adopt or use, or for that matter, apply your old strategies to the current ways. I mean, look at COVID. Technology has entered into the workplace. If workers are laid off and machines take over, what will your role be as a union? So what are you doing in that regard to ensure that in terms of the future, you remain relevant?
Yeah. You see, those are long-term dreams that that will not happen in the near future. That is what we are saying. That no, maybe the future. It is it is in the discussions. People are saying the future of work and all that, will be replaced by computers and so forth. Yeah. But when will these things happen? So is it going to happen now? I don't think it's going to happen now. I still believe we have a very long way to go. So for us to remain relevant in the time being is that we have to re-strategize. I really do not want to give out much on what the PSUN has done for obvious reason. Yeah. But it's an issue of re-strategizing and coming up with new and better ways to serve the employees.
Yeah.
We have to be innovative. We have to be creative. You see, how we used to solve issues in the past has changed from how we are solving issues now.
Yeah.
So technology also has come in. We have to embrace change, embrace technology, and embrace all other innovative ways of doing things. So if we are to really remain relevant, and as trade union leaders, we also have to acquaint ourselves with the provisions of the law, acquaint ourselves with provisions of every other statutory provision that is there, so that we really remain relevant to our cause. Otherwise, you will have people that are there, but they are not, that are supposed to be there, but they are not really there because they don't know what they are doing.
Yeah.
So that it's very, very imperative that we, in order for us to remain relevant, we are there. We go for trainings. We always bring in new innovative ways of doing things.
Yeah.
So as a PSUN, for the past few months, we have had several trainings. We've held several trainings on labor issues where we have had our expert lawyers that have come in to train our employees, to train the shop steward leaders on their rights. You realize that many employees still do not understand and don't know their rights. So, and these are things that we've been doing as a PSU, and we've been educating the employees to know their rights. That is the most powerful tool that you can give to any employee. Make them understand their rights in the workplace. Make them understand what is due to them. You will have a better future.
Indeed. Just perhaps as we wrap up, your exit sentiments perhaps around this topic, just briefly.
Yeah, my exit statement will be that first of all, let me appreciate the platform that has been given to the Public Service Union of Namibia to enlighten the world out there about the existence of the union, and also inform the Namibian public at large, remind them of the existence of Article 95C of the Namibian Constitution, which obliges the state to promote independent trade union, because many people do not know about it. And with that saying, I would like to encourage employees to interrogate issues within their trade unions.
Yeah.
Really interrogate the reasons of existence. You cannot be in an abusive relationship for such a long time, that you are just there, you are just contributing your money, and really there is no vision, or the vision of that particular trade union is somewhere skewed.
Yeah.
You have the right, because but by law it is, you have the right to associate and belong to any trade union of your choice.
Yeah.
It's in our Namibian constitution. So you have the right to belong to any trade union of your choice. You shall not be pressured, you shall not be forced. So let us come in numbers and join the revolutionary union, the PSUN on the move. We really set for something good.
Okay.
And I'm very hopeful that in the next few months, the Namibian labor industry will never be the same again.
Okay.
So I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Titus Sitentu there from the Public Service Union of Namibia, just delving into some labor matters and obviously matters pertaining to the trade unions in the country and abroad. From us, the Evening Review team, have a pleasant evening. Thank you.
Thank you.